Welcome back to Tutorial Tidbits. I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire, and this week I'm going to show you how to make copious amounts of collage paper in a short amount of time, utilizing a giant Mac Daddy gel plate and an 18-inch roll of rice paper, plus a stack of my stencil designs that layer quite nicely together. So, if you've got a few minutes, let's go check it out. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to be using a great big Mac Daddy gel plate. This is a 12 by 14 gel plate. I've not used it before, so that should be fun. It is the big giant gel plate, and in order to accommodate that gel plate, I'm going to be using an 18-inch roll of Sushi Gami Kozo rice paper. Now, Kozo rice paper is not coated on either side. It's not sized on either side. So unlike the 9x12 pad that I often recommend to you that's durable and sturdy and has a smooth side, this does not have a smooth side. However, the description says that it's very strong and absorbent and stands up to many art techniques, including rubbing, stenciling, dyeing, framing, bookbinding, and drawing, painting, brush calligraphy. It is often chosen for collage, paper mache, and marbling because it stays strong while it's wet. And this is all very true. So this paper is thin enough to let light pass, and it breathes, allowing ventilation even when the screen panels are shut for warmth. So these are made for screen panels. But what I like about it, that is thin enough to let light pass. So it's sort of semi-translucent. And so if you lay this paper in white over an underpainted color, you'll see a little bit of that underpainted color showing through. So I love this paper. It also tears very organically. It tears with a nice organic edge. Because it's not machined. So it tears with a very nice soft edge, and I use it for clouds a lot. But I'm liking this fact that it's big enough and on a roll that we can make some prints on this big Mac Daddy gel plate. So I'm going to give you a few tips on gel plate since this is brand new. When you take the gel plate out of the packaging, it's going to have a big brochure with it, and it's got a clamshell of plastic. You're going to keep this clamshell because you're going to return the gel plate into the clamshell when you're not using it. But you are going to remove the brochure. You just want the gel plate to be in this clear clamshell by itself. You can tape the brochure to the front or whatever you want to do with it, but don't have this pressing on the plate. So we're going to set this aside. And then what you've got is a gel plate that has 2 sheets of Mylar attached to both sides. This Mylar is part of the part of the manufacturing process for the plate. It is not meant to stay on the plate. It is not meant to be stored on the plate. This Mylar is meant to be removed. So we're going to peel this off. Removed, and they say discarded, but I say keep it for some other kind of a project. Mix paint on it. Use it to put in between your stencils so they don't tangle with one another. Find something to do with it, but do not put it back on the gel plate. It is part of the manufacturing process, and it is not meant to go back on the plate. It can stick to it, and sometimes it can stick to it really badly. So you're just going to remove the Mylar sheets and use them for something else. So here we've got this giant Mac Daddy gel plate, and I have to get a brayer. I'm using my 6-inch gel press economy brayer. This is 6 inches is great for the size for rolling out the paint. Economy, I try to keep the supply list information reasonable. This is about $10 or maybe a little less. But if you want to upgrade to a nicer brayer, Speedball makes a 6-inch brayer that's about $30, and it's significantly better quality. But this works, and this works just fine. But if you want something where the roller is not quite so close to the plastic, which if you get a lot of paint in here, this jams. You get a lot of paint in the edges, it jams. If you want to upgrade, look at the Speedball roller brayer. So now I'm talking about this like you know what I'm talking about. In the upper right-hand corner of your video, you're going to find a link for my Amazon shopping resource page, and all the products that I use in these tutorial videos will be there. And also, please note that there is a talk bubble in the upper right-hand corner on all the products that I use, and that talk bubble has notes from me about why I chose the product and what I like about it. So click on those talk bubbles so that you can get some insight from me. Okay, so a brand new gel plate is tacky, sticky, and it also often sometimes releases a little bit of oil, and that causes the paint to bubble up on it at first, but that bubbling, or what we call blooming, that will go away eventually. Also, because the gel plate leaches oil, I've got it on my nonstick craft mat surface. This is a surface that I have on my both of my work surfaces, because when you get paint on it, you can scrape it off with your thumbnail. So here I'm just scraping off acrylic paint and removing it. That same goes for varnish, glue, whatever. Nothing sticks to this and keeps it clean. So, but you don't want to leave this gel plate on this nonstick surface, this craft mat surface, or on your wood coffee table or wherever for an elongated amount of time, because the oil that's in this plate will leach into the surface and it'll darken it, and it'll wreck your coffee table. So you definitely don't want to leave this anywhere. You want to put it back in that clamshell without the Mylar. Okay, so the 6-inch brayer and the 18-inch roll of paper, and we're gonna do some layers, and I'm gonna use some of my stencil designs. So before I forget the names of them, I'm gonna tell you now, and I've got these clipped to Mylar sheets because I hang them on a hanging system. I have another YouTube video about that showing you how to set that up, and I put the Mylar on them so they don't tangle with each other when they're overlapping. So this one is called Rocks and Roll. These stencils are all designed by me, and they're available at joggles.com, and that link is in your upper right hand corner. This one is Rocks and Roll. This one is called Squares. Now, Squares is a stencil that I designed specifically for layering. So I'm going to be layering squares with something like Rocks and Roll, because I designed these square ones specifically to layer with organic round ones. So the next one that I designed for base layering, this one is called Planes. So I'm going to take that one off of its hanger, stack it over here. This one is a layering one that will go nicely with planes. This is called Fiddly Ferns. I'll try to use all of these. This one is a great layering for the next one, and this is called Loop-de-Loop. This is a great swirly layering stencil that goes really nicely with this one, which is another sort of geometric one, and this is called Racing Spots. So Racing Spots is a great one to layer with an organic swirly one. So let's start out with a base layer. I'm going to try to do neutral colors today because I never do that. So let's start out with a base. I've pulled out chromium oxide green, burnt sienna, burnt umber light, Naples yellow, bronze iridescent, and nickel azo gold, quinacridone nickel azo gold. So what I want you to note about these colors is that chromium oxide green and Naples yellow and iridescent bronze are pretty opaque. How do I know that? Because the tick marks, the black tick marks on the front of the container, they have a swipe of paint over them. This is actual paint swiped over. Golden has people that hand paint these containers of paint. That's amazing, right? So that swipe on nickel azo gold shows you the black tick marks through it and says, hey, this is a very translucent, transparent paint. But these three are opaque or pushing towards opaque. So you can't really see the tick marks between chromium oxide green, Naples yellow, and iridescent bronze. What does that mean? That means these need to be base layers or on the bottom because they're opaque. So when we're layering, if we put these on top, they're going to block out what's below them. So you want to pay attention to the opacity of paints when you're layering with your gel plate. So those are going to go on the bottom. Burnt umber light is pretty dark, but I can still see the tick marks. Sienna, I can see the tick marks, and nickel azo gold is highly translucent. So those are going to go in the top layers, and I'm going to blend them together with my brayer to mix other neutral colors. So the first bottom layer, I'm going to put out some chromium oxide green, and I don't really want it to be super green, so I'm going to add some of this iridescent bronze, and let's roll it out and see what we get. Now, when you're blending colors on the gel plate, it's important that you swirl them around, stir them around. If you just roll them together, sometimes you get a mottling where the color underneath didn't really mix together. Now, mottling unmixed, marbled like this, that's not wrong, and it can be very cool. But what I want to do is blend one color between these two. So I'm going to stir it around and then roll it out so that I get a nice blended kind of greenish bronze, and this will be a nice base layer. I'm always going to start with a base layer and build my layers on top. So I've got my sushigami roll, and I'm going to fill it with a base layer of this color. I'm going to give it a good press and then lift it up. And I've got some crinkles in it. And it gave me some crinkly layer because it was bent when it went down on the plate. That's kind of cool. So that's my base layer. So the next, I'm going to leave this right on this roll so I can keep rolling in and out. So the next one I'm going to work on is the Naples yellow base layer. And I'm going to add a little bit of bronze to that too. Let's see how that goes. So we'll take the Brayer and we'll swirl it around together. And there's green in this Brayer. There's still chromium oxide green in this Brayer, but I didn't roll it out to clean it because I'm going to let that tint this neutral base layer. Now this is a nice neutral base layer. I'm swirling and I'm rolling, making sure everything is mixed together. And I've got a nice neutral base layer. And I'm going to bring my paper here again and put this next up. See, it's those little wrinkles in the paper that made it crinkly, but I love texture, pattern, and all of that stuff. I embrace the irregularity of the wrinkles in this paper. So now I've got, it's not as light as I thought it would be because I've got a lot of bronze in it. So the next one I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do the Naples yellow, and I'm gonna put a little bit of this burnt umber light in it. And again, I'm not going to clean this Brayer out. I'm just going to let it roll together and sort of enhance this next layer. I'm swirling it around and rolling it out and swirling it so I get a good blend. And then I've got another nice neutral base layer. And I'm going to slide up on my paper and put this one. This paper is a little wrinkly because it's been outside and it's getting in the garage, which is where I am, and it's got a little moisture in it. So there's another nice neutral base layer. So we've got 3 nice neutral base layers now on this roll of paper, so I can just keep rolling it out. I'm going to do another one that is just Naples yellow. Why not? Why just go with just Naples yellow? Let's throw a little nickel azo gold in there. Everybody goes cuckoo for nickel azo gold. Look at this. Beautiful. Swirling it around, blending it with that nice Naples yellow. And remember, we're keeping our opaque colors as the base layer so that when we layer another couple of layers, we don't block out the layer below. All right. So now, again, I'm going to put this great roll of paper, line it up, and print another base layer. And that one is a great kind of golden yellow color. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 12 by 14 base solids. So now I'm going to set the paper off to the side. And I've got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got 1, 2, should be able to make that work. Maybe we should do one more with the pile of stencils that we have here. So let's just do a nickel azo gold with the chromium oxide green and the yellow that's in the Brayer. And let's see what we get with that. So I'm going to swirl it around and roll it out and stir it around and roll it out. So that's sort of a cool greenish, lighter green color. And this will be our last light colored solid, lining that up where we left off. And that's another nice neutral base layer. So we've got a lot of yellow and green going on here. So the first thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to print a solid print and a ghost print of some of these stencils and masks, and then I'll layer them with the next layer. So I'm going to use 2 at a time because I've got a lot of real estate here. So I'm going to put racing spots with squares, and I'm going to go slightly darker. So this one is kind of pretty dark. So the rest of them are pretty light, but that one got kind of pretty dark. So we need to go darker, much darker there. But what I'm going to do is roll the roll up so we can go back to the first sheet that we did. So I'm just rolling everything back up so I can start from the beginning. That's what's nice about the roll. So I'm going to go slightly darker than this. And for that, that's sort of the greenish bronze. So I'm going to go to the nickel azo gold. And put that out. I'm going to leave the green that's in my brayer, not really worry about it. Stir it out. That's such a lovely color. Hopefully that looks good over this greenish bronze. Okay, so I'm spreading it out really well. And then I'm going to put squares on half of this and racing spots on the other. These are both stencils. They are stencils because the holes that are cut in the Mylar are actually the pattern. Whereas loop-de-loop is a mask because the Mylar creates the pattern, not the negative holes. So Fiddly Ferns is a stencil, and it's also very tangled with planes. This is why I keep them with Mylar between. Fiddly Ferns is a stencil because the shape is created by the negative space, the cutout in the Mylar. Planes is a mask with a frame. So it's got a frame. So it's a framed mask because the shapes are created with the positive shapes of the Mylar. And Rocks and Roll is a framed mask because the pattern is created with the positive shape of the Mylar, but it's got a frame to keep it together. So Loop-de-Loop is the only mask that doesn't have a frame. So now I'm going to print those 2 geometric patterns, which I have designed specifically to be layered with organic shapes. I'm going to put those as my first layer and see how they look. Now this rice paper also, you can see at the front edge, it's got a little bit of paint on it with a lot of water. And what happens there is that paint soaks all the way through. So you can hit the back of this rice paper with a very watered down paint and it will soak all the way through. And then you will have edges when you tear it that are not white. And you can just soak color all the way through the core of this rice paper. So let's see how this looks. So we've got 2 great geometric patterns here from racing stripes and squares that are now layered on top of our base layer. So we're going to get a ghost print from that as well. So I'm going to lift these up and I'm going to set them aside and I'm going to come back with the next sheet and print that ghost print on the next square. So this is what's nice about working on a roll of paper. We can keep moving and we can do large amounts of paper all at once. So here is the ghost print on the next sheet that we created. So we've got the positive print and we've got the negative print and the ghost print. So now we're going to go another color. I'm going to go with the burnt umber. That's pretty dark though. So let's mix that with some of the quinacridone nickel azo gold and put a little bit more of that on and a little bit more of this. This is a bigger plate than I normally use, so it takes some more paint, but it's yielding us some large amounts of collage paper with the same amount of effort. So how great is that? So this is pretty much a similar color to what I just did. So now the next geometric pattern that I'm going to lay down is the planes. And I don't have another one, so I'm going to bring back in the geometric pattern of the racing spots and put that down on this one as well. So I'm going to come back in with our next print. and print that over the next solid print. Making sure I get good contact, get all the paint picked up. So there's the first print. I love this planes, the lines in that is a lot of fun. And so we'll pick up racing spots and planes. And now we've got a ghost print, and we're gonna put that out on the last, second to last sheet that we did. And we'll pick up the ghost print. And the other nice, cool thing about working on a roll is that where they overlap and intersect, this becomes serendipitous. It becomes really interesting stuff that you didn't plan. So that's kind of cool. So I've got one more solid here. So I'm going to put over that one. I'm going to go with the Naples yellow because it's opaque. So it will go over that darker green. It will go over the darker green. So let's put that on here, rolling it out with the color that was already in my brayer, sort of swirling. And let's come back to planes and squares. I'll put those down and print that over the dark green. Now again, the only reason that this yellow will go over this dark green is because it is an opaque, Naples yellow is an opaque color. So it's going to go over a dark. So here we've got the Naples yellow over that dark. That is quite nice. And then I've got a ghost print, and I don't have another solid set up to print it on, but that's okay. I'm just gonna take that ghost print and grab it on the next layer of my paper, and I'll do something with that as well. So here I've grabbed it right on white. I've grabbed that ghost print. This is what's great about this roll of paper is that we can keep, now I'm gonna roll it back up, and everything is dry immediately when it comes off the gel plate. So I'm rolling this right back up with no problem, and then I'm gonna start back at the end again. So we're gonna just roll this all up. And then we're back to the beginning. So the next thing, we're gonna go darker. So I'm gonna go with the burnt umber. That'll be darker, but that's still brown. Let's see. Let me see. Let's go over this one with the chromium green again. Even though this is opaque, we'll go with a small pattern. Either that or, let's see. Let's mix the chromium green with the, let's mix this with a little bit of the burnt umber. No, I'm so indecisive. I'm trying to go darker, but we're already pretty dark on this particular print. So we really need to go darker. All right, I know I said I was going to try and stay neutral, but I've grabbed some color. I've grabbed some, I can't help it. I've grabbed some quinacridone magenta and some pyrrole red. I think the red will look really, it'll be darker and it'll be vibrant. It'll look different over the first layer. So I'm also going to add some burnt umber light to that and kind of neutralize it a little. It's not really neutral because a pyrrole red is an orangey red. It's a pretty vibrant, dark, bright red. So I'll add a little bit more of the burnt umber light to that. Stirring it and rolling it out. And now I'm going to come back with the swirled organic shapes on top of the geometrics. So I'm going to use the rocks and roll and the loop-de-loop. I'm going to put those together, and I'm going to put those over our first print here of the geometrics. So we're going to start back where we go back to where we started, and we're going to layer this with the geometrics. Oh, I love it. I love it. I can't help it. I love color. Look at this. So this is beautiful how this is layering with the geometrics, and we've gotten darker and we got multicolors under there. Beautiful, beautiful. So now I've got some paint still in the middle spaces there. So I'm going to want to clean some of that out. So I'm going to get a scrap here and see if I can get a little bit more paint out from in between the spaces on the masks so I can get a better ghost print. So I'm just going to pull that. Now I've cleaned out a little bit more. and I've got a better ghost print. So now I'm going to lift these up, and I've got that beautiful ghost print in this same great color, and I'm going to put that over the next print that we did. So now I'm printing the ghost print. I've shifted down one layer, and beautiful. I've still got some paint left, but look at how that ghost print then layers over with the geometric. So that is lovely. The ghost print with the organic over the geometric. We've still got some more on there. I'm going to shift to the next print, but I'm going to be pretty positive it's not going to transfer. It's probably going to be dry. Yeah, it's pretty dry. Transferred a little bit. Okay, so on this one, again, we're going to go a little darker. Let's try the magenta with the burnt umber light. Swirl that around, roll that out. So it's going to be similar, but not exactly the same as the orangey red, because this is a magenta with the burnt umber light. Trying to keep it a little bit toned down. Spread that out. And then the next one I'm going to use is the fiddly ferns, and I'm going to bring back in the loop-de-loop. And that's going to go over now the next print. Oops, let's straighten this out. So this is beautiful as well. So fiddly ferns and loop-de-loop, again on top of, this one is on top of plains and racing stripes. So we've got some real interesting combination of organic and geometric here. Really like this. It's a very similar color, actually. So the next one I do, I think I'll try the Pyro Orange without toning it down. So let's lift these up for a ghost print. I didn't clean off the color in the middle though. I'm going to skip down to the green one because it's a little darker. So let's skip down to that one and see how this looks on top of that. So we've got the ghost print transferred to, oh, I love this. The ghost print of this one, Fiddly Ferns and Loop-de-Loop, transferring over on squares and planes. So we've got some nice geometric organic blend there. I skipped this one, so let me roll up and come back to that one because I didn't want to go over that one. So I've got this one now, which is sort of my golden yellowy one. So I'm going to go with the burnt umber light with this one because that's going to be darker. Let's get some more of that. A nice rich brown. And then on this one, I'm going to come back in with Fiddly Ferns and Rocks and Roll. Put those two together and put them over the sort of the yellowy sheet. So this is a great way to make a lot of paper, large amount of paper at once with the oversized gel press plate, 12 by 14, and this roll of rice paper that is 18 inches wide. So here I've got a real nice kind of, this is an earth tone sort of organic combo of Fiddly Ferns with plains and Rocks and Roll with racing stripes. So the layering, you can see the layering really brings out the best in all of this. So we've got, now we've got another ghost print. Let me take these off, and I'm going to put it with the white one that we had at the end, that ghost print. Oh, that's very fun and interesting. So there it is layered over white with the plains and the squares and the Rocks and Roll. So now in the interest of layering, we're going to go back. I'm rolling up again, going back to the beginning, because so many of these stencils are made to be layered and they look so much better when you do layer them. I really, really like this one, so I'm not going to mess with that one at all. This one with the ghost print, I'd like to put some Naples yellow on top of that, because it's opaque, it will go over it, and we can do something just a little lighter over the top of that one. So I've still got a little color in my brayer, but my Naples yellow is not tinted too much. And for that, I'm going to go over it with the, I'm going to bring back in the geometric. So I'm going to bring back in, I'm bringing in plains, which is different than what's down there now. And and the racing spots, excuse me. So I'm going to put that this way so they don't line up the way they were before. And pull that one. So there you can see what it looks like when you put an opaque color back on top. It does not allow the layer to show through like this one does, but it gives you an interesting effect in that it's opaque and it's light back on top of dark. So these stencils are all meant to be layered. The wonderful part about the oversized gel plate and the oversized roll is that you can just keep on printing them, and you can make copious amounts of collage paper all at once. And you can layer, layer, layer to your heart's content. So that is the 12 by 14 gel press plate, the 6-inch Brayer by Gel Press, and my stencils from Joggles.com. So thanks for being here. For more in-depth tutorials every single week, please check out my Patreon page. That link is in the upper right-hand corner. That, for a small subscription fee, gives you access to everything I've ever published over the last several months, and that's one video a week. So there is tons of material in there, and it is inspiring, and it is educational, and it is creative, and I think you'll really like it. So check it out in the upper right hand corner, and thanks for being here. Happy Friday.